Hi everyone, Canoopsy here, and this is the new 2021 iPad mini 6th generation. We've waited quite a while for Apple to actually refresh the iPad mini with a new design and bring it more in line with the iPad Pro and iPad Air series. And yeah, they didn't disappoint. They went all out with this iPad mini. I've been using this iPad mini for over a week now, and it's been very interesting, trying such a different, truly new feeling iPad experience. This is my review. Okay, so the design is the biggest change with this new iPad, and it's quite nice, I have to say. It looks like the latest iPad Air, but much smaller. I chose the purple one, which I think is the best color option. It's very subtle and kind of looks like space gray in most light, but when it catches the light just right, it's a beautiful shade of purple. Paired with Apple's lavender flip cover case, and it's a beautiful color combo. The flip cover snaps on with magnets, it stays on very well, and gives you two different angles when you're using your iPad. Now, the iPad mini is super thin, incredibly light and comfortable to hold even with one hand, and it's great if you're reading an ebook in portrait mode or watching a video in landscape. It really feels nice and lightweight to hold. The volume buttons are moved to the bottom corner of the iPad in landscape or the top of the iPad in portrait. It's a little bit of an awkward placement, but you get used to it. The reason why the buttons got moved is because the Apple Pencil 2 takes up the entire side of the iPad when you attach it via the magnets. Having the Apple Pencil always there, always charged, always accessible, ready to go, encourages you to actually use it more, and truly it is an essential accessory for this iPad. We also have speakers on either side of the iPad that together sound pretty decent, but I wish they were a little bit louder. That being said though, way better than the previous iPad mini with just the one speaker, these sound infinitely better. Because there's no Face ID on this iPad, we have a fingerprint scanner power button just like the iPad Air at the top left of the device. You rest your finger on the scanner to unlock it, and you have to hold it there a bit longer to go straight to the home screen, or you can just swipe up. I wish it was a little bit faster, but it does the job. On the other side of the iPad is a USB-C port, so you can plug in flash drives, displays, other accessories, USB-C adapters, USB-C headphones, or 3.5mm headphones with an adapter because there's no headphone jack on this iPad. The USB-C port is the only port on this device. The front camera is decent for video calls, selfies, and it's a super wide-angle camera, which means it has center stage just like the iPad Pro. So the camera keeps you in frame at all times during video calls, and it's a pretty cool feature that I wish iPhones had, honestly. So this is how video from the front-facing camera looks, and the audio quality as well coming from the iPad itself. It's good enough for FaceTime and video calls. It's decent. The camera on the back of the iPad is nothing really too special, but for the occasional photo, you can get some good shots out of this camera. It's excellent though for document scanning, as it actually has a flash module on the back, so you can take great shots of your books, magazines, newspapers, whatever. It's pretty good. So that's the exterior design of the iPad mini and the biggest noticeable change, but being a very small iPad also does have its perks. So with an iPad this small, you probably want to bring it around with you, right? Well, it does fit in some pockets, but you probably won't catch me doing that, so it actually fits in some of my favorite small bags. These are the City Pouch slings from Bellroy, and this iPad, believe it or not, fits in the regular City Pouch, which is quite a small bag. No problem. And it fits even better in the City Pouch Plus, which personally I've been using over the last week or so to bring the iPad with me everywhere I go. If you just got one of these iPads, getting a small kind of compact bag is definitely the move over putting it in your pocket. I'll link these bags in the description down below. Not a sponsor, but I love these bags. And because the iPad is so thin and light, the portability is truly its greatest asset. Like, around your home, it's perfect. Taking it to a coffee shop, a park, your school, bring it on public transit. I thought the iPad Pro was a great portable computer, but this is on a whole different level. What I do wish though is it did have a magic keyboard of some sort, even if it was a super tiny, awkward to use thing. I do wish it was an option, because the on-screen keyboard, while decent, takes up like the whole screen, so I wish there was a physical keyboard. The display up front, which is 8.3 inches LCD and with rounded corners, is actually pretty nice. at times I wish it was a little bit brighter. It's only 500 nits like the previous iPad mini, but generally for watching videos, drawing, reading, taking notes, it's a good overall display. The display is a 60Hz panel, not 120Hz like the iPad Pro, and definitely not as smooth feeling as the Pro devices are. But using the Apple Pencil on this display is an excellent experience. There's little to no latency, and I've drawn, written out notes, and it feels smooth and natural. Okay, let's talk quickly about that jelly scroll issue you may have heard about over the last week or so. Now, for my usage, it's really a non-issue. Now when you scroll up and down really quickly on a web page or text-rich document, you can see there's a bit of a jelly effect and the scrolling kind of gets a bit choppy and weird looking. It's definitely noticeable here in slow motion, but during day-to-day usage, you really won't even notice this at all. Sure, I wish the iPad didn't have this issue obviously, but if that's the one thing that's holding you back from buying this iPad, honestly, unless you specifically look for it, you're not going to see this in your daily usage. It's not an issue. So those are some of the biggest changes to this new iPad mini, but most importantly, what can you actually do on this thing? The iPad is powered by the A15 Bionic, the same processor as the iPhone 13 series. First and foremost, this is the perfect device for students looking for a note-taking device or a small digital sketchbook. This is the move. Like, it's the size of a small notebook, but much thinner and maybe even more lightweight. I've used this iPad for drawing up thumbnail concepts and wallpapers in Procreate, writing down point form notes, brainstorming and jotting down ideas in Notability, and being able to have all your ideas in one place in a super thin and light device is definitely a win. You can still multitask quite a bit on this tiny display, like have a YouTube video playing and Twitter open, or Safari and Apple Music. You can really go crazy with multitasking on this device. And speaking of watching videos, this is kind of the perfect iPad for that. Whether it's YouTube, Netflix, Crave, whatever, this is great for lying in bed, on the couch, just watching YouTube videos, catching up on all your stuff. Even things like TikTok, for example, scale very well to this iPad. And for gaming, this is a great little console experience, kind of like the Nintendo Switch. Hook up a Bluetooth controller, stream some games, play Apple Arcade, get games from the App Store. It's an awesome gaming experience on this device, and it runs perfectly fine. And it can handle basically everything that's supported on iOS. For editing photos, apps like Lightroom or Affinity Photo work very well here. You can send photos from your phone or camera to the iPad, make some edits, and keep on moving. Now, Affinity Photo, which is kind of like Photoshop for the iPad, actually runs very well on this device, but it's not the best experience. You can see here that everything looks really small, and it is usable if you have like a mouse or trackpad attached, but yeah, I mean, it's possible to edit photos that are more intensive, but it's not going to be the best experience. Using things like Keynote, Pages, or Microsoft Office apps, they all work very well here too. Now, as I mentioned, the on-screen keyboard takes up like way too much of the screen, so pair a Bluetooth keyboard, Bluetooth mouse, and you're good to go. Work on presentations, spreadsheets, documents, and it's all possible and a nice experience on this iPad. You can even go as far as edit videos on this device in a simple app like iMovie or something more complex like LumaFusion. Sure, it's not the most comfortable editing experience ever, but you can throw together a quick edit no problem on this device. I've done a few tests and the iPad can handle 4K video clips pretty well, and exporting was decently fast too. It's possible. There's also the odd use case here and there for this iPad, like for example, I use the iPad as a large viewfinder for my Canon 90D with the Canon app. Or if you're like super deep in the Apple HomeKit ecosystem, you could basically mount this to your wall, use it as a dedicated smart home remote or music controller for your entire AirPlay connected home. I've also heard that pilots love the iPad mini, so if you are a pilot, this is a pretty solid upgrade for you. Or if you just want to use the iPad in your car, for example, for navigation, maybe you're an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, you can tether the iPad to your phone, use your phone's data, or get the cellular iPad and use 5G, which now works on this device. You see, this iPad can do simple things like social media browsing, watching videos, and gaming, to even more intensive tasks with pro apps like the big iPads can do. Like I said, not the best experience, but it's possible even on this small screen. If you have an iPad mini and use it for a special use case, tell me in the comments down below. I'm pretty curious. So those are a few things you can actually do on this iPad, and in the end, it's up to you to decide how much you actually want to do on this iPad and how far you want to push this device in your daily life. But I gotta say though, using iPadOS on this device is kind of interesting. Now I love some of the improvements Apple has made to iPadOS this year, like home screen widgets, Quick Note, app library in the dock, awesome features. But the scaling is so bizarre on this iPad. Like if you have apps or widgets on your home screen, the side spacing on here is just so whack. There's so much padding. If you have a lot of apps in your dock and you're in portrait mode or even landscape mode, good luck tapping the one you want. They get super small, almost untappable. You can bump up the text size a bit and choose the large icon option, but that only really goes so far with this device. Everything is still very small. Okay, lastly is battery life. Now, measuring battery usage on a device like this is a bit tougher to measure because there are a whole bunch of different use cases, so it's a bit tougher to analyze, but I'll break down how I use the iPad and my experience. So picking up the iPad first thing in the morning, I start to scroll on Twitter, reply to emails, watch a few videos, throw in some music, then periodically throughout the day use the iPad for sketching, watching some more videos, and I found the battery life to be generally quite good. Like after an average day using the Mini on and off throughout the day, the battery tends to hit about 50 or 60% at around 10 or 10:30 in the evening. Now on those busier days when I have the brightness up really high, I'm drawing, I'm writing out notes, watching videos throughout the day, really using this thing, I see the battery hit about 30 or 40% on those more chaotic, heavier battery usage days with the iPad. But basically, in the simplest of terms, for most people with mixed usage, periodically using the iPad throughout the day, you're going to have a full day of usage, just charge it up in the evening, you're good to go for the next day. It's most likely a 2-day or multiple day battery life device depending on how much you use it and what you actually do on it. That being said though, if you're bringing the iPad on a trip, you have a long lecture session, you're doing drawing all day, you're using the iPad in a studio environment for a photo or video shoot, definitely bring along the charger just to be safe, and thankfully it is included in the box. Okay, so that's the new iPad mini, and at this point in the video, you either A, know you're gonna buy this thing 100% because of a very specific use case, or you just really want it. B, you know this iPad is not for you, you're gonna buy a different iPad, or no iPad. Or C, you're kinda stuck deciding which iPad out of the extensive lineup is the best one for you. Let me help you with that. If you plan to use your iPad for a lot of precise creative work, you want to try replacing your laptop or computer with an iPad, you type a lot, get an iPad Pro, either a new one or refurbished, or an iPad Air. These iPads have bigger screens, smart and magic keyboard support, and in the case of the M1 iPad Pro, it's more powerful for intensive creative tasks. Now, if you're just looking for an affordable iPad, check out the base model iPad, not the Pro, not the Mini, not the Air, just the regular straight up iPad. It has smart keyboard and Apple Pencil support, the older accessories, but still they're good. Not the latest processor, but for things like writing notes, watching videos, browsing the web, working on essays or presentations, it's still a solid option. It actually just got updated, and it has a bigger screen if you want that. But if you've wanted the iPad Pro experience, meaning the fresh design, all-screen minimal bezel look, Apple Pencil 2 support, those kind of things, but smaller than the 11-inch model, then the iPad mini is the move. It's beautifully designed, it's fast, it's not stupid expensive, and despite a few software inconsistencies which might get fixed over time, the overall iPad experience here is different, but it's great. Now, before we depart, one last thing. If you've liked the wallpaper I've shown throughout this video on the iPad, then you may be interested in the collaborative wallpaper pack I worked on with my friends over at Paperlike. This entire wallpaper collection is completely free to download, the link in the description. There are 5 wallpapers total. They commissioned me to make this custom wallpaper series that's actually inspired by Paperlike and their excellent iPad screen protectors that make the writing and drawing experience on the iPad with Apple Pencil even better. This collection was entirely designed on iPad, with Paperlike installed of course, made for iPads and other devices, and you can download them all for yourself, like I said, at the link in the description. Free to download, check them out, and I hope you love them. And that's it for this video. I want to hear your thoughts on the new 2021 iPad mini in the comments down below. What do you think of this device? Do you plan to buy one? Are you skipping it? Let me know. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe, and thank you for watching.